Hello, Mike Pelonzi here with another episode of Safe and Sound. Very excited today. I have two awesome guests. We're going to be talking about preparing your kids for college, things they should know before leaving. On my right, I have Tom O'Hare from Get College Going. He's going to talk about financial planning, what to do to prepare your kids before they go to college, forms that even I've not heard about that you guys should know about before they leave so you have access to anything medically that may happen to your kids while they're away at college. Tom also co-authored a book, Pivotal College Planning Workbook. You can pick that up right from his website, which we will put at the end of the show. Big guy to my left, Ken McCullough from Northeast Community Bank in Danvers. He's been in banking 22 years. He has seen all the mistakes we made with bank accounts, with kids' accounts, things they do, not keeping your account safe. So he's going to chime in on that. And then at the end, I'll just bring up some safety tips, some things kids should be aware of that they don't pay attention to. Of course not, because most of them is first time away from home on their own, and it's a totally new environment. All right, well, guys, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks for having us.
Tom, what do you do? What are we going to talk about today? We have some forms, we have some information for the parents that just I never even knew existed.
Yeah, so in my world, I'm a college planner. I help families and students manage the process of getting where they want to go, how they're going to pay, and how they're going to settle in. And there's a lot of stress and anxiety that goes with the first part, but when families are getting ready to put their kids in the car with all kinds of junk that they want to move into a dorm, there's some things that they may not know about, and that's what I'd like to share. First, to be able to be a parent talking to a college administrator about your sons and daughters' academic records, campus security, and various things, there is a form called the FERPA. It's a family education form that the students need to sign off with their parents so the parents can talk to the academic people, talk to financial aid. Although most financial aid people will talk with parents because they know they're going to pay the bill. Right? The problem is in September, it's all excitement, but in December, we want to find out how's Johnny or Jeannie doing with their grades. The colleges won't talk to you, so it's an important form. And I have it available through my website, and at the end, we'll put a link on. The other is some of the medical. So when a student turns 18, and we've talked about this before, Mike, when a student turns 18, the legal system, the medical system says, parents, you're out of the picture. Little Johnny and Jeannie, you're in charge of your own life. But we know they're not in charge of their lives. So the important thing is to get a HIPAA form. It's the medical form that allows parents to talk to, or any of us to talk to medical people about family members that we have. And we want to get that form signed before we get the phone call that we have to drive 5 hours to get to the campus because our kid's in the ER and we can't talk to the doctors on the way. And trust me, I have a daughter who went to Syracuse and that happened. And that ride on the New York Turnpike was really tough because mom's looking at me and saying, where's this form? So a HIPAA form is important. A power of attorney form is important because if something happens, we want someone to be able to speak on behalf of our kids. The other, a very unknown one that I bring up all the time, is if there's any reason a student might have to leave campus for medical reasons, for emotional reasons, anything other than academics, you need to buy tuition insurance. Because if you're paying $20,000 or $30,000 for a year and something happens to your son and daughter and they have to leave school, the school's not going to give you your money back after 90 days. So tuition insurance allows you to have the opportunity to get some of that refund money back. And as Ken will talk about, it's important to have banking arrangements set up before your kids go off to school. Simple things like immunization records. You got to get those done. It takes a month or two to get a doctor's appointment, so you can't do that in August when you're packing the car to go off to the campus. So those are some of the important things that students need to be able to be aware of, and parents for sure need to get done when the students are graduating from high school.
Well, because we all think our kids are always our kids, right? Even my kids are in their 30s, we always, my kid, but he's an adult. I'm sure their first time away from home, parents believe they're still going to have access to all the records and all the information they need.
Yeah.
And really, congratulations, they're finally out of the house, but technically in the law they're the adult.
Yeah.
Good things to have in place.
The other important one is if a kid's taking a car onto campus, and if they become the Uber driver, you know as well as I do the liability insurance that the family could face and the problems they can face if my son or daughter becomes the Uber driver and somebody gets hurt in the car. So checking your automobile and your personal liability coverage to make sure that if something happens, you're protected. I don't believe in having kids take cars to campus. I'm adamant about that. They have shuttle systems, they have train systems, they have buses. There's no reason to bring a car on campus, even if they have an internship program. But if they do, be very, very cautious of the liability, because as you know, parents will sue each other for the sake of suing each other to recover some problems. So there's a lot of things that they need to be aware of.
And everyone's too crazy nowadays. You know, it takes $50 to go down to court and file a suit against anyone. You know, we talked about that in other classes, you know, civil suits. And I'm not worried, I was never worried about my students coming up on criminal charges. It's that civil aspect that no one thinks about.
Right.
Where before the police are involved and things happen.
Yep, and things happen.
Yes, especially in dorm rooms. You know, we haven't even talked about dorm room security and, you know, teaching the kids to keep the doors locked. It's a totally new environment. So the kids get overwhelmed with that party environment. Everyone's your best friend, and, you know, people get really relaxed about security when things are getting stolen. I'm sure you hear about all the time. Things are getting stolen at dorm rooms, and bank accounts, they're getting compromised because they're not taking care of, you know, credit cards or debit cards,
Right.
Especially on the online world.
Exactly.
We talked about online security in the previous show, just how easy it is to get your access to that. All right, what else you have on that list there?
Well, you're talking about dorms. The dorms are important, and an 18 or 19-year-old student's not going to become the center of attention within a dorm or on a floor, but especially for girls who are sharing a dorm room with other roommates, and others come into that dorm. I've had a case in my career where an individual who wasn't a student on campus was frequently visiting the dorm room where a client of mine was. And they didn't want to say anything, but they need to, because if anything happens in that room with a third party, they've broken a lot of rules from the standpoint of campus security. So dorms are important. It's a good place to sleep and relax. It's not a place to study. It creates a lot of mental health issues if someone's in their dorm room too long. But from a safety standpoint, whether it's a male or a female, be leery of who's in that dorm room besides the roommate.
And always you should have your values locked in some kind of container in the dorm room, just when you're not there or people have other people over who aren't part of the system or outside the campus. You know, I've been a big advocate about pepper spray on campuses all over the country. And there's a big misconception about pepper sprays that it's some kind of chemical or you need some kind of license. Well, believe it or not, in Massachusetts, we just lowered the age of pepper spray from 15 to 12, which astounded me, but it is, because pepper spray is not a chemical. It's pure pepper. And, you know, I've talked about this with you and other administrators where can your students or faculty bring an Italian subway hot peppers to school? If the answer is yes, they can bring pepper spray. It's the same product. It goes back to the 1600s, where the Japanese warriors would take satchels of pepper in the battle and smash in the adversaries' faces because they knew back then the effects that pepper would have on someone. And it's a natural food-grade product. There's literally only 3 places in America you cannot have pepper spray. It's a courthouse, a federal building, and on an airplane. There may be some policies, but it's not a law. I can even come to your bank with pepper spray.
Yes, you can.
And not breaking any laws there. So it's just some security things to do. Keep your stuff locked up. Have a safety plan in place. Have some way to protect yourselves. Whether it's self-defense, which I am a self-defense instructor, but I'm all about pepper spray because I like the protection at distance. I don't want your son and daughter, I don't care how big your son is, to have to go fist on with someone. Even the smallest can of pepper spray shoots 12 feet. And it shoots it 25 times. So it's a good option. And you can just stick it in your pocket and bring it to class and bring it to the bus and do whatever you want to do with it.
Now, a question, do they need to let campus security know that they're carrying
They do
it?
not need to let anyone know they have pepper spray on them.
Good.
If you need to let someone know, again, I'm going back to the Italian subway hot peppers. If you need to let someone know you have Italian subway hot peppers, then yes, tell me with pepper spray. I have not yet seen a college or any policy in any building that says if your lunch consists of hot peppers, you need to tell security.
All right, that's good.
Because it's a natural food grade product. That's all it is. It's not mace. It's not tear gas. It's none of the craziness we hear. All right. Well, we've talked a lot about the forms, and very important because I know if my son was in another state and something happened and I made a phone call, yeah, is he okay? Should I come up? Sorry, sir, we can't talk to your son's 18.
Yeah.
I would literally just lose my mind.
Right.
So
Great peace of mind. For peace of mind, at a minimum, parents need to take in. And I have an article on my website, on my blog, that people can get all of the ones that they should be able to. And they need to turn to a lawyer or an attorney to help them get certain forms. So yeah, most definitely, before they go.
In Tom's website, which we'll put up at the end, I've read some of the blogs, great information, even though my kids are older. But I still like reading about it because it keeps my brain fresh. I do a lot of college safety classes through the year, and I like to keep up on things.
Yeah.
Which now, and you don't know this, but I'm going to try to bring you into some of those classes.
Oh.
Because I'm not a banker.
Okay.
It's just like I tell people to get certain insurances when it comes to self-defense. I can't sell them insurance. Well, I can't open a bank account.
Right.
So I need someone to do that for me. Like I can get them there, but you need to actually do the work.
Sure.
So let's talk about some finances now, as far as mistakes and things kids should do once they're on campus.
Yes,
Or before they go.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you need to consider when you, especially when you're traveling out of state for school. Like Tom said, once you turn 18, that opens a whole other world to someone. And being a parent, you don't have access to some things that you used to have access to. For example, the financials. For example, the bank account. Unless you're a signer on that account, the bank cannot give you information regarding that account. So it's important to have a joint account with your student that's going away to school in case of emergency. I mean, I know everyone wants to be independent, which is great. Everyone should be independent. But you should also have access to give them the money if they need to in case of an emergency, or if they need to buy food, or if they don't have money in their account. That way they can just call mom and dad or the guardian and just be like, oh, I need some extra cash, for emergency. My car broke down, even though you're not supposed to have cars on campus, or to buy a bus ticket or anything like that. Because emergencies happen. It'll happen to all of us, and sometimes you don't have access to an ATM. So what I always recommend people to do is that you can have a bank local to your school, but also have a bank that's both accessible at school and back home, so that way you have multiple ways to access the account when needed. There's a lot of other options out there like Venmo, but that's not instant money transfer. Zelle is, you can use Zelle, but again, it's easier in the middle of the night. Oh, and they get you $100 to get your car towed or to fix your flat tire or to get you out of a bad situation. You can do that. Another one as well too, as Tom mentioned, as you had mentioned as well too, protecting yourself when you're in the dorms. Lock up your valuables. You want to keep all your personal information secure. Don't leave cash laying around. Have it in a secure lockbox. Same thing with your passwords. Make sure you have the security features updated on your phones. So that way someone can't come in and unlock your phone and make transfers, because a lot of those things aren't protected by something like with Zelle. With a Zelle transfer, once you send the money, it's considered cash, so you can't get that back. So things like that, you want to keep all your personal information secure.
So you think it's a good idea for parents to have an account locally, like I'm in Danvers.
Yep.
So I have an account with your bank.
Sure.
But if my son went to, say, wherever, Virginia Tech.
Sure, absolutely.
Open another bank there. Is there a way that banks can talk to each other, different bank branches, or not? Or is it just good to have access in both areas?
Access in both areas. So you can have a bank account in Virginia if you want. There's a lot of national banks out there. But even you don't have to use a national or regional bank. You can use a small bank, like your local hometown bank. Just before you go to school, go in there, open a checking account. You can then you have two people on there, however many parents you want on there, and then obviously you can go to school, have the debit card, or if you want a credit card, you can use a credit card as well too. but of course, when you're using a credit card, you want to shop around for the lowest interest rate possible because you don't want to rack that up.
Safety between credit card and debit card. What's your opinion? What do you guys suggest? Because I've always heard a debit card is not as safe as, or they don't give you the refunds or security as a credit card. You dispute someone with a credit card, it's much easier to get the money back than a debit card. Now, is that true? Is that just stuff that's out there?
It's not necessarily true. So with debit cards, you have protected under Regulation E. So if you have fraud on your account, some of it you are responsible for. For example, if you gave your card to someone and they used it, that's not considered fraud because you gave it to them to use. So that's why you want to keep everything secure in that lockbox on your person. Credit cards, a lot of them you can just challenge it and they refund it back to you, but you gotta be careful with both. What it comes down to. Credit cards are great, but again, you have to worry about that interest rate. And someone going to college for the first time, interest rate could add up quite a bit, So you gotta be careful with both. But I personally myself, when I went to school, I had both. I had a credit card for emergency purposes, and I had the debit card as well too for the local stuff to access money at the ATM when I needed to. That's the other thing as well too. You want to have a bank that's within the network and the ATMs around you because ATM fees can add up. The average ATM fee is $4. So that ATM you're using is going to charge you $4, and then your bank most likely will charge you a fee as well too. So that one ATM transaction can cost you up to $8, and if you keep on doing it over and over again, it adds up. Same thing with the overdraft fees as well too. So that way, mom and dad can keep an eye on the account, making sure you're spending money the way you're supposed to, and not overdrawing those accounts, buying stuff you don't need to buy.
And that's a good thing that the parents should have access to the online account.
Yes.
As well as the overdraft. And with was it the FERPer? Mm-hmm. They can actually see, is my little boy, girl actually going to class and how they doing, as opposed to just out there going to frat parties and down the beach, and meanwhile the bills are coming into mom and dad, and they wouldn't have access to it.
Yeah, they need to ask their sons and daughters first, have that conversation, and if they're very, very concerned, then having access allows them to be part of the conversation.
And that first time being on their own out of the house, really that sense of total freedom can rack up dangerous situations.
Yeah.
Or exorbitant bank fees. Yeah. It's just, it's amazing that things we take for granted that, we're older, we do this thing on a regular basis, that our kids get out there and it's like, oh my God, how do you not know this?
Yeah, well, it's good to learn from your mistakes. Everyone goes through them, but there's also mistakes that could be very costly and avoidable. And that's the things you have to consider. And that helps with going to college, with safety, and even everyday life, like financial stuff.
Yeah, parents shouldn't stop communicating with their kids. I always encourage them to set a specific schedule in the student's life. If Friday afternoon is a good time to text to see if you're okay, text. But don't be a nuisance. But do not just let them go and wait until Thanksgiving or Christmas to find out there's problems.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm home for the holidays, by the way. I won't be going back to school.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the nice thing about banking, though, is that you can actually start doing the stuff before you go to college. I know some banks have rules on how old you can be to open an account, but it doesn't stop your parent from opening the account for you and then teaching someone how to do a budget. Because the budgeting is something you can do all through life. You need to do it. So that's very important. So it's good to start now and get in the habits now versus learning. Because when you're at college, you're learning a whole other things in general. It's brand new. The last thing you want to be doing is learning about financing, basic financing principles.
It's why they should bring back basic financing in high school, but that's
a different topic for a different day.
That'll be a different day. That'll be a different program for you.
Yes.
If I can make a plug for something that's very important right now that does tie into the financing, and that is families need to be filling out their financial aid form called the FAFSA. It was on hold. It's now open again. And in order for families to realize how much they may have to pay out of their own pocket versus how much they're going to be able to get in financial aid from a variety of sources, they need to start filling out their financial aid form called the FAFSA. And if they need help, they can call me. It does feed into the notion of having your finances ready before you go to school. So get that application filled out, and it's free.
Now, is that something that was around and then came back, or
it's been around from the time when I had jet black hair like you. But in October of 2 years ago, they ran into some problems. This year it was actually delayed 2 months. It's normally open and ready in October, but this year they delayed it. The government delayed it because of some problems they've had last year, and they went into a beta test process, but it's now available for everybody to start filling out. Whether you're going first time, whether you're returning, whether you're thinking about going as a return student, as an older student, in order to find out how much you need, what you might be able to get in financial aid, fill out the FAFSA.
See, that's why everything you talked about, and I've actually seen it on your website and your blog, so I'm very excited that we're going to have the link there at the end of this. You can go on, click on it. We'll get your information up on the website as well.
Be happy, yeah.
I love Ken's Bank. It's just dealing with a neighborhood bank. It's just so easy, so relaxing. Go in, hey, everyone knows your name, and it's a great time.
The key is communication. Communicate with your bank, tell them what's going on, tell them what your plans are, and most likely the person who's at the desk can help you.
What else you got over there, Tom? Anything else on that list that we went over? I have a few things on my list.
Well, the whole idea of being in the healthcare, if you have a doctor here and you're part of a certain network, find out that network if your kids are going off to college, especially if they're going out of state. And just be a good communicator with your kids, because just because they're going to college at 18, as we all know, as a dad of 4, they have their things and we have ours from the standpoint of worry. So peace of mind is very important. I like the idea, as Ken says, make sure you set up your relationship. A junior and senior in high school should have a bank account. They should start learning about how to save money and how to spend money, how to balance it. I don't think anybody balances their checking accounts anymore.
I've seen a lot of things.
But yeah, develop that relationship so if they need help along the way. Don't wait until the phone rings and you're panicking.
Right.
All right.
And lastly, too, for the parents as well, too, banks will not call you asking for your personal information in the middle of the night. So I know there's a lot of scams out there that people call and try to get information from people when they're least expecting it, and especially when people going away to school. That's where scammers tend to get a lot of their business done. So just be wary of that.
That's a good point. Very good point.
All right. Well, thanks. Let's kind of shift gears now to some basic campus security. Things that people don't pay attention to a lot. I tell everyone when you go into school, when you're walking around, it's a new environment, and I'm going to get into social media and technology in a second. But always use the buddy system. Have a couple of you out there. I hear this all the time. I'm a guy. I know you're a guy. It's always better safety in numbers to go out there and have a friend with you. A lot of places, big campuses, campus security will come pick you up. They have a little golf cart, or they'll escort you. They'll walk you somewhere. They like that. They want to do that. And you know what? That makes a totally safe environment around. If bad guys are out there lurking and you don't see them, and you see campus security, or they see campus security helping you or coming with you to a dorm or picking you up and dropping you off, that's going to make that place less likely a target. They do not want that. They don't want security. They don't want lights. Stay in the parking lot. Bring your car. College campuses have done a lot with lighting. Always park near a well-lit area. Know where you're going. Some campuses are very overwhelming, very easy to get lost. Have a sense of direction. Again, that's where you want to get on with a map. I know we'll talk about apps. The problem with social media is you give up too much information. Don't be out there saying, oh, I can't wait. Thanksgiving's in a couple days. We'll come up on Christmas break. Oh, I can't wait. I'm going on Christmas break and we're taking off to, Hawaii for the week. Now everyone in the world literally knows, not only you're not in your dorm, your parents are no longer going to be home either. Doesn't take a lot of, investigative knowledge to figure out where you live, when you're gone, and how to break into someone's home. So be aware of that. Another thing, for some reason, I don't know if it's still big now, but geotagging your photos of where you're on what time was big at one point. And that was telling people where you were, exactly what time, whether it's in real time. I know everyone wants those social media hits. I get it. It wants to be that influencer and never, making $1 million, but all that information puts you at risk. So please don't do that. Review your settings on your social media, especially your phone. A lot of hackers out there, a lot of young, experienced hackers can break in the unsecured Wi-Fi. That's a big thing. Make sure most schools have 2 Wi-Fis, right? One for the students with a password, which I know they say it's secure, but everyone knows the password, okay? And then there's the general public one. Be aware of the one with the school. Everyone knows that password. I'd like to ask them, when's the last time they actually changed that password? How many people graduated that they changed the password? They're probably the same password when we were in school, for crying out loud. So just some things to keep in mind as far as you're traveling around the campuses with. Have a plan. Just have kind of a mental plan, what's going to happen if something goes awry, whether you're walking, whether you're driving. Know the best place to go if you feel threatened or unsafe. That's fine. Walk into a dorm, walk into a cafeteria, walk into a store, cross the street if that's what it takes to keep yourself safe. So how can you know that? All right. Well, I always like to end the show with a tip of the day. And because we've been talking about security, I'm going to start with the end of the show tip of the day about don't allow technology to make you unaware of your surroundings. Everyone's plugged in. If we've gone from headphones to the earbuds. Now we're back to headphones again. Wireless headphones. I see at the gym. I see kids on their bikes, headphones. Stay unplugged. The minute you're plugged in, you isolate yourself from the area that you're around. Know the environment. Don't be zoned out. This is almost impossible to recognize a threat if you don't see it. And by then, the time's over. So the big thing is, when you're out, if you must jog with an earbud or headphone or earbud, take one out at least so you can hear your surroundings. I know it's not stereo, but it will keep you safe, especially if someone's running behind you, someone's yelling, someone's screaming. At least you can hear someone warning you about something that's going on. So that's it. Situation awareness is key. You can't be situation aware if we're all wide in and looking down. Do yourselves a favor, do a 360, and you'll have a safe and fun college experience. And hopefully financially secure as well. All right, well, guys, that was a fast half hour.
Yes, it was. It was good.
I want to thank Tom. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, Mike, for
great
giving me a
information,
chance
great
to say
blog.
hello.
Ken, always a pleasure to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Great time at your bank. I also want to thank Chris Harvey, who I think is lurking around somewhere out there, and I see Michelle Lopez. There he is. And Michelle Lopez is over there. And of course, none of this would be possible to support my loving wife, Lisa, who won't come in front of the camera, but she does so much behind the scenes with the prep work and the videos and the online marketing. So thanks, hon. All right. Well, have a great and safe holiday season, everyone, and we'll do this again soon.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.